being there.
He wanted to stay and I wouldn't let him.
Mike Jackson
Oh,
was
he wanted to, or Joseph didn't leave his phone.
Good evening and welcome to the August 13th meeting of the Berry City Council. Welcome to our guest. After a moment of reflection, I'll ask Dr. Miller to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please join me in the pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is to approve the minutes of our July 23rd, 2020 meeting. I have a motion and a second. Is any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The minutes are approved. Under the mayor's report. First off, I'd like to offer congratulations to our very own Chief of Police, Chief Lyles, for his appointment by the governor to the Kentucky Law Enforcement Council. This is quite an honor. This particular council, I think, has a lot to say about the training of our police officers, and that's certainly something that needs to be looked at right now because they're way behind. We've got some officers that were hired months ago that still waiting to go to Eastern for their training. So congratulations to Chief on that appointment. We had 2 or 3 calls from friends across the state who saw our very own John Wright on Comment on Kentucky on KET, and they were very complimentary of the way he represented Murray, Kentucky. So John, good job. Recently saw in the paper where one of our council members had been married to Bill Rouse for 50 years. I looked it up, and then that was Alice. So, congratulations. Well, I'm going to talk about a couple of things now, so just rear back. The census. Murray only has about 64% of our people who have filled out their census forms. And we got to do better. That means a lot to our community. It means a lot to people who are interested in setting up a business here if they don't look and see that our population is going down. They don't like to see that if they're wanting to open a business here. And we think our population is going up, but we have to fill out those census forms. And I believe they're starting door to door this week or next. If you don't want someone coming to your door and breathing on you, then go to 2020census.gov and take a few minutes and fill out the census form. A brief update on COVID-19. I gave you a little update last time we met, and I pleaded with everyone to let's wear a mask and social distance. And so in August, we've had 96 cases. 96 across the state. A lot of cases. What's happened? They shut school down for a month. So we have got to do better, community. We've got to do better. We're still seeing folks in the stores and restaurants that are just ignoring the mask requirement of the governor and pleas of everyone else. 265 cases now in our county. I remember when I was afraid we were going to get to 20. And we've got to stop that. We got to get those kids back in school. And one thing I'm noticing is that once it gets into a household, there are going to be several people in that household that get it. I know of several households that have 3 or 4 or 5 cases. So I know everyone wants to protect their family. So let's protect ourselves. And while we're doing that, let's protect our family. So please, please do what you were asked to do. Well, enough on that. We're going to have a public hearing now. So I'm going to ask the clerk to read what that public hearing is about.
Public hearing for an appeals process of 2.08 acres of land located at 1003 North 4th Street from PO Professional Office District Zone to B2 Highway Business District Zone.
I make a motion, we hear.
We have a motion, second to open the public hearing. Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Not hear none. So the public hearing is now open. First thing I'm going to do is call Justin Smith from our planning department to the podium. Justin, I'm going to swear you in. You'll raise your right hand. Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth to the best of your knowledge? All right. So if you would, present the background of this request to the council.
All right, good evening, council.
Good evening.
All right, on July 21st, 2020, on a Tuesday, the Planning Commission had a public hearing to hear the request of 1003 North 4th Street. His request was to rezone the property from professional office to B2 Highway Business District. At this public hearing, the Planning Commission denied the request and sent the recommendation to the City Council, as all of you received the packets the day after July the 21st. And he has since then filled out an appeal for you guys to hear a public hearing over the item. And it takes a majority of the council to override a Planning Commission's recommendation. With that, I can give you a little bit of background about how it became professional office. In April of the 7th of 2007, the Planning Commission had voted unanimously 10-0 to rezone it from R2 to professional office, stating facts that there had been significant changes in the area of economic, physical, and social nature that were not anticipated in the community's comprehensive plan. In 2008, our comprehensive plan was worked on and it was brought up to date into 2009. And then in January of 2020, we just amended it again. In this comprehensive plan for future land use, we're looking at from here to the next 30 years, it designates most of North 4th Street as commercial. That is a state highway. It's 45 miles an hour. In this area. I don't know if any of you got out there to look at the property. It's at the bottom of the hill, right before it gets to the top of the hill where it goes to 35 miles an hour. It was just in the past 5 years that it changed to 45. As most of us know, it was 55 before then, and there was quite a bit of accidents. So his request is to rezone it to go full commercial, like anything that you would see on our North 12th Street corridor. He don't know what he wants to do with the property as of right now. He wants to keep his photography business, Oakwood Studios, open, but as with a lot of businesses, since COVID, he is struggling pretty bad. And he wants an option to, if his business does fail, maybe put it on the market, sell it, maybe a developer buy it, come in, rebuild something else, maybe bring some more jobs to the community. And with that, I'll turn it over to the council for any questions.
What was the rationale for the BZA to reject this proposal?
It was 6-1.
But was there an argument as to why this would be a bad thing? I believe that you stated that the change does agree with our comprehensive plan.
It does. The motion that they made was they did not know it was going to go there, so that's why they denied it, and it was that simple.
Was there opposition from surrounding neighbors?
I have had many calls from people that live on Bee Creek Drive. The main adjacent property owner on North 4th, the Smiths Trust, came to the meeting, and they might be here tonight, I'm not sure. They came to the meeting and spoke heavily in opposition of it. I've had a couple calls that didn't mind it, but the majority of the people from Bee Creek and the one adjacent property owner, the Smiths, were in opposition.
What were their rationale?
That's just, they sold the land to Mr. Andrus, and they did not see that this would be good for, you know, their property that had been in their family for years and years.
And why, I don't quite understand why Mr. Andrus didn't simply say what business he might put in that piece of property.
He does not have a plan. He wants to keep his photo studio there, and then if it fails, then he'll just sell it to somebody else.
Excuse me, I believe he's here to speak for himself.
Yep.
Okay.
Justin, and on 4th Street, aren't there several other businesses, you know, in that area?
Right across the street, there's a propane business. We have the Veterans down there on the corner also, Caddy Corner. We have Woodmen of the World. All along 4th Street, there's several different businesses in that area. There's 3 houses left that are close to this property on 4th Street. And the rest of them have either been torn down and other businesses have come. Greg Williams built a bunch of offices and storage facilities, you know, not far from here, just a couple years back, so.
If it is changed to a B2, what difference is that gonna make on the east side or the west side of that highway? I mean, it
What do you
seems
mean?
awful crowded there already. However, now that seems pretty busy.
Mr. Andrus has the only driveway in that area that goes to 4th Street. Bee Creek stubs off to the east at a dead end, and both the propane and the Veterans have their own driveways off of that dead end. So he actually only has the only driveway right there that goes to North 4th.
Justin, I drove out there today, and the only thing that caused me concern was the turn down Bee Creek going west that leads into the soccer fields.
Mhm.
Is there any concern about danger to children or increased traffic, whatever? In a heavily used area, is that even still a heavily used area, those soccer fields?
I mean, since the park rearranged everything, most of the traffic that goes to the soccer fields comes off of North 12th Street. They do have a gate on that side. So there is still a parking lot down there on Bee Creek for the park system, but the majority of the people use North 12th to get over to the soccer complex now.
Be necessarily a threat to children?
I don't think so.
Thank you, Justin. Any other questions from the planning department? Thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
Is there anyone present who would like to speak in favor of granting the appeal? Yes, sir, come forward. Please state your name.
I'm Ken Andrus. I own the property. It's Oakwood Studios, our photography studio there.
Let me swear you in. Mr. Andrus, do you swear that the testimony you're about to give in this case is the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. You may proceed.
Hello, everyone. I'm Ken Andrus. I'm the photographer at Oakwood Studio. And of course, we would love to have our photography studio be open there for a long time, but the way things are going right now, it's kind of difficult to have a photography studio. I looked at putting it on the market, the land on the market. I talked to the realtor last year, and he said one of the main things kind of hurting me if I decided to sell was its zone professional office and not B2. He said a more variety of people could, come in there if it was B2. And he suggested that I try to move forward with rezoning. And then after I talked to Justin, he said that he thought that area was going toward business as well. And so that's the reason I tried. When I came up here to the zoning commission, Mrs. Smith that owns the property around that said that she's leaving that property to her grandson, I think it was. And she's afraid that something will happen and he can't keep it residential. And I don't think that would affect them. I don't know how that works. But my property, if you look toward their property, there's a woods, I can pass this around, there's a woods between my property and their property on.
We got an overhead view.
On Big Creek. And then going up in the other direction, up the hill, you can't really see their property either. So I can't see either property from my property, so I'm not sure it would affect them in the way that she's afraid it will. And that was the main concern, was she was afraid it would affect her grandson being able to build his home back there on that property. I believe it's 150 feet back to the property on Big Creek, but there's a wooded area between my property and their property, which is actually on their property, but it's kind of an unusable spot of property. It's got a big drainage ditch that goes down it. It runs kind of around my property. And it wouldn't be of much use to anybody because of that drainage ditch. But anyway, that's pretty much all I have to say. I think if another business was to come in here, it might, like Justin said, create some jobs for people. Right now, it's just sitting there doing nothing.
Council, question?
Mayor, could I make a comment?
Yes, sir.
I have a few notes I've written down here during the discussion prior to this. After hearing Mark Manning speak at our first committee meeting and trying to drive business to our community, and one of the goals when I ran for this council was to make Murray a more business-friendly community and streamline the process for businesses to come here. I find it a little disheartening that the commission would vote to deny this request based on our comprehensive plan suggests that this area be zoned B2. Mr. Andrus may not have plans at this time to do anything, and he may not do anything. But if he ever does plan to sell, I believe that that would entice an employer or a larger business to maybe come. With the significant development north of that area with the New Vision Center, the Octane Drive, the gas station, and even some new development to the south, I feel that this motion should be granted. And I guess with that said, I would like to make a motion to approve Mr. Anderson's request to rezone his property.
I would like to give other people an opportunity. Right, I have to hear, I have to close the public meeting before we do that, okay? And I want to see if there are others who have any comment about this or question.
Ken, how many acres is it?
It's right at 2 acres. I believe part of the deed says it's a little more than 2 acres, but I think that includes somehow, at some point, that little spot right in front of the studio where there's like a pull-off. I don't know who acquired that, but that's kind of a little right-of-way there. So I think it's a little over 2 acres, including that, and a little less than 2 acres.
You know what the footage is from Fourth Street, would your property be having face there?
The frontage on the entire,
Yeah.
no ma'am, I don't. I'm sorry. It's pretty long. It's a long 4th Street, and that's a very busy highway.
Looks like it's 373 feet according to this page.
Okay, great.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
No problem.
Other questions, comments in favor of this or for Mr. Andrews? Thank you, sir. Just a minute, I need to give people an opportunity to speak against it. All right, these are the people who, anyone else who wants to speak in favor of the appeal? All right, is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition to the appeal? I think the clerk has something to read into the records.
I received a letter today from Richard and Sue Smith regarding the rezoning request of 1003 North 4th, and they asked me to read it tonight. We are opposed to rezoning to a B2 highway business zone, the property located at 1003 North 4th Street, which is not 2.0 acres, it is 1.68 acres. We are okay with it as professional office zone or to change it to multiplex dwellings such as duplexes or apartments. The property is next to 403 Bee Creek Drive, which is single-family dwelling, and 903 North 4th, also a single-family dwelling, joining 1003 North 4th Street. The wrong kind of business could hurt the value of our property and cause it to be unsuitable for family dwellings. We also plan to build another family dwelling on our property. Our property also joins property owned for family housing such as Billy Welch and all the homes on Bee Creek Drive. Sorry we cannot attend in person tonight as we are out of town. Signed and dated by Norma Sue Smith and Richard R. Smith.
Is there anyone else who wants to speak against the appeal? If not, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing. Motion made in a second to close the public hearing. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It's closed. Now, discussion by council members on the request. If you have something you'd like to say or ask about this request, now's the time to do it before I entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, generally, I usually go towards homeowners and their rights as homeowners to live their lives out in residential areas whenever they can. Actually, professional office cleaners gives a lot of options on what someone can put on their property. Even a planned development project could be anything that someone would want to do. I think PO is okay, not knowing what Mr. Andrews may put there, want to put there, or what the next owner wants to put there. There's a lot of options there. I think one of the nicest complex on 4th Street is a little place further up to the south that's got about 4 little small offices in there. Things like that can happen in these zones. We don't have to always go to a B2 when a PO could possibly, Mr. Andrews, with all due respect, but possibly hold what the new property owner, if he decides to sell it, may want to put there anyway. So I would vote to oppose that motion to deny.
Other discussion? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The thing I worry about is, the official document that we have, which will be in the official record 10 years from now, 20 years from now, as findings of fact, is that why did they choose to zone this or to deny the rezoning request? And the main reason stated in the legal document we have before us is that we don't know what might go there.
my goodness. If that's the way we're gonna treat people that own property here in Murray, refuse to rezone their property to business because they at the time request the rezoning, they don't know they're gonna put there. I certainly agree with Councilman McChristian that is just not a legal, I can't see how that would sustain in a court, how you could just say that because you didn't know what was gonna go there. We've rezoned 12th Street, not knowing whatever was gonna go in all those places. And there's residential areas that back up to all those. If you'll look in your new KLC magazine, which is in your packet, there's an article on rezoning. Land use decisions, what every city official would know, and I'll direct your attention to page 12. The criteria for rezoning in the middle document, in the middle paragraph there, it says statutory criteria A for rezoning are not whether the proposal provides the property owner with the opportunity for a profitable business venture, or whether the neighbors object to development on pleas of maintaining the status quo, or in other words, not in my backyard considerations. This has been in the comprehensive plan zone business, and I would certainly agree with Mr. McChristian, and that's all I have to say.
Anyone else? Now's your time to express your opinion before I entertain a motion. I'll entertain a motion to either approve or to deny the appeal.
I would like to make the motion that we approve.
A motion by Mr. McHouston and a second by Ms. Cherry to approve, uphold the appeal.
All right, I make a motion to approve the zone amendment request for the subject property of Ken Andrus located at 1003 North 4th Street for 2.08 acres to be rezoned from PO Professional Office District to B2 Highway Business District. The testimony presented in this public hearing has shown that the proposed zoning classification is in agreement with the underlying comprehensive plan.
Now we have a motion and a second to approve the amendment request. Any discussion? We'll have a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Bell?
Yes.
Mr. Boland?
Yes.
Ms. Cherry?
Yes.
Ms. Elder?
Yes.
Mr. Hudspeth?
No.
Mr. McChristian?
Yes.
Dr. Miller?
Aye.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Ms. Rouse?
Yes.
Ms. Seaver? Yes. Dr. Strader?
No.
Dr. Young?
Yes. And the motion is passed. The appeal is granted. Thank you very much. Now we're back to open session. Report from Public Works, Mr. Hudson.
Mr. Mayor, the Public Works Committee met early at 5:30. Members of that committee are Mr. Jeremy Bell, Ms. Rose Elder, Mr. John Mark Roberts, Ms. Alice Rouse, and Dr. Terry Streeter. Two items on our agenda were to approve a couple of bids. The first one was a Brooklyn Drive Stormwater Project bid. This bid is to fix and repair a collapsed pipe back on the Brooklyn Drive area of town. It came under budget. Two people bid on it. We accepted the low bid from LMD Landscape for $29,836.60. At that time, I'd like the motion to accept that bid.
I'll second that.
You have a motion and a second on the floor to accept that bid. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say aye.
Mr. Mayor, the second item on our agenda was to approve a bid for a stormwater inspection camera bid. This came a little bit under budget as well at $51,598. The bid came from Brown Equipment Company. This time I was so moved to accept that bid.
Second.
Motion made and second to approve that low bid. Discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. Glad to see Mr. Oakley starting these projects, and stormwater fee, helping take care of some of our problems. Mr. Hudspeth, report from Personnel and Finance Committee, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Personnel and Finance Committee met at 5:50 p.m. this evening. Wesley Boland, Rose Elder, Monty McChristian, Dr. Dan Miller, and Pat Sieber, members of that committee. First item on our agenda was to hear a request and a proposal from Mark Manning. He came to us looking to ask us to look at our ordinance on insurance tax as it pertains to large organizations that may have multiple large quantities of vehicles. He would like for us to look at that ordinance and make some changes. I believe Mr. Hopkins has worked with Jim Osborne already, and he will be presenting us with a draft ordinance for our consideration at our next meeting, hopefully our next finance meeting before the council next time we have a meeting, sir. So it was informational mostly as a request from Mr. Manning, and we will get back on this at our next meeting. Our second item was a cable franchise recommendation. We'll call on Mr. Osborne. He's at the podium. Mr. Osborne, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Hudspeth. Just more of an informational purposes. I went before the Personnel and Finance Committee this evening. The Cable Commission has been contacted by Spectrum or Charter Spectrum to renegotiate their franchise agreement. And once they contact us to do that, we have a certain time limit that we have to do that. So we contacted the attorney that the city uses for franchise agreements. She gave the city Cable Commission 3 options. They chose an option of what she called the Louisville option. It's a hybrid communication franchise, which includes all cable providers and any other telecommunication providers that have showed interest in running fiber in Murray. So it would be an all-inclusive agreement that we could utilize. She's done this 28 times in Jefferson County, so she felt like it would be a quicker process, and we would not have to negotiate with each different entity each time. So I came before the Personnel and Finance Committee to ask them to approve that negotiation on Linda Haynes' behalf.
Mr. Mayor, the committee unanimously approved the recommendation from the commissions, and this time we would enter into record that we approve that as well, and I would so move that we enter into the Louisville option as it is so called.
Second.
You've heard the motion and the second to approve this request. Any discussion?
Well, I mean, we're not approving, we have to see the ordinance first, don't we? I mean, we're not.
Yes, sir. We're simply, you all are simply approving her to negotiate with the company
okay.
and bring you something back.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion is approved. Next item.
Next item, Mr. Mayor, is the fire station bid. I will turn this over to the mayor to talk about his bid for the fire station, number 2.
You have before you the bids for the new fire station. There were 6 bids. There was a base bid and an alternate bid. The base bid was for the fire station with 3 bays. The alternate bid was to add a 4th bay. If you look at the compilation of bids, you'll see that Princeton Lumber Company had the low bid, and they also had the low combined bid if our decision is to go ahead and accept both base and alternate. And this is the same company that built the fire station on North 12 several years ago. You have a recommendation from our architect to award that to the low bidder, Princeton Lumber Company. Everything was in order. All the subcontractors were checked out. And so we recommend that you approve the bids from Princeton Lumber Company. Also included in that packet is a bid for the inspections as the fire station is being built. Lots of inspections have to be. You had 3 bids, I believe, on that, and the low bid was from Associated Engineers out of Madisonville. Mr. Thomas recommended that you approve the low bid. He works with that engineering company regularly, and I concur with his recommendation. So it's our recommendation that you approve the bids from Princeton Lumber Company and Associated Engineers for our new fire station.
And I would so move the committee unanimously agree to accept this bid.
Did he make a motion?
Yes. Yes. In a second.
Did I hear a second? All right.
John Martin.
Motion and second to approve that recommendation of the low bid. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is approved. We will notify those folks so they can get started as soon as possible. You have one more item?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. The last item on our agenda was a financing plan for Fire Station Number 2. In your package, you have a revenue and expense sheet on how we plan on paying for this. Financing $3 million, CPGD grant of $500,000, general fund restricted reserves $500,000. The bottom of your sheet tells you how that money will be spent. This time, we will accept this, we will make a motion to accept this financing plan and give the mayor and his staff the opportunity to go out and find the proper financing and bring back to us so we can approve the financing plan.
Okay.
So I would so move for this plan and give you the authorization to go out and get the financing for this.
Motion and a second. I hear a second. Second from John Mark. I will call your attention that this is anticipated to be up to a $4 million project because we have $4 million. If we finance $3 million, use the $500,000 grant from Community Block Development, and you have $500,000 set aside in restricted reserves in the general fund budget. All of the anticipated expenses are listed there, and there's some funds in there for contingency and miscellaneous things that may not be anticipated. So, motion is to approve this budget and to ask our staff to move forward with securing the best deal we can get on financing. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is passed. Thank you, Mr. Hudspeth. Now recommending we go in executive session pursuant to KRS 61A10-1C for the purpose of discussion of pending litigation against or on behalf of the city of Murray. Do I hear a motion to enter executive session? Motion made,
Second.
second, to go in executive session. I would, there may or may not be an action item when we return. Don't know for sure. Yes, sir.
Need a vote.
And, yeah,
Vote to go into executive session.
right. Yeah, all in favor of going to executive session? Any opposed? We'll meet upstairs. Thank you. And then we'll return here.
Take your file, Dan. Yes, that's why.
It's been up here for 2 weeks.
Yes, not all. Breathe for a second.
You do it.
Yeah, Dan.
You're a wise person.
All right,
I didn't mean to say old.
we had a motion and a second to come back in open session. So we're back in open session. And I'll open the floor to any type of motion that needs to be made.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move that that the council give you the permission and the authorization to complete mediation agreement that we discussed in the executive session between BFC and the city of Murray.
Okay? You've heard the motion.
The mediation agreement. All right, you want to read that back? Did you catch that? All right, I move that we give the mayor the authority, the authorization and the approval to complete the mediation agreement between BFC and the city of Murray.
You've heard the motion. Do I hear a second? Ms. Elder, second the motion. Any discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor, please raise your hand. Thank you very much.
Let the record show it was unanimous.
Let the record show it's unanimous. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Move we adjourn.
Second.
Motion made and second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye. We